If you've ever taken melatonin and wondered why it sometimes works like magic and other times leaves you staring at the ceiling until 3 a.m., you're about to discover a secret that changes everything. The truth is, most people are taking melatonin completely wrong. Not just the timing or the dose, but their entire understanding of what this gentle hormone actually does in your body. Close your eyes for just a moment and imagine discovering that the supplement you thought was a simple sleep aid is actually one of the most sophisticated biological messengers your body produces. A chemical so perfectly designed for rest that it's been guiding creatures toward healing sleep for millions of years, yet so misunderstood that even doctors often prescribe it incorrectly. Tonight, as you settle into the comfort of your bed, I want to share with you a story that's been unfolding inside your body every single night of your life, yet remains hidden from your waking awareness. It's the story of Sarah, stepping off that plane in London, her body still humming with New York rhythms while London afternoon light streams through terminal windows, her internal clock insisting it's still morning in America, but her destination demanding she adapt to a completely different time. And it's the story of Maria, the ICU nurse whose work demands she remain alert through the deep hours when most of the world sleeps, fighting against every ancestral instinct that calls for rest. But more than anything, this is your story, the intimate tale of how your body prepares for sleep, how a tiny gland deep in your brain creates a chemical messenger more precious than any sleeping potion, and how understanding this gentle process might transform not just your sleep, but your entire relationship with rest forever. You see, every evening as darkness begins to embrace the world around you, something remarkable starts to happen in the deepest recesses of your mind. A small, pine cone-shaped gland, no bigger than a grain of rice, begins to release a hormone so perfectly designed for sleep that scientists call it the hormone of darkness. This hormone doesn't force you to sleep like a heavy sedative might. Instead, it whispers to every cell in your body, carrying the gentle message that night has arrived, that it's time to let go, time to rest, time to restore. This hormone is melatonin, and tonight we're going to explore its beautiful story together. But here's what most people don't realize. Melatonin isn't just about falling asleep. It's about understanding the magnificent architecture of sleep itself, how your brain orchestrates rest with the precision of a master conductor, how every cell in your being participates in the ancient ritual of night, and why getting this wrong can leave you feeling more exhausted than when you started. Over the next few hours, as you drift in and out of listening, as your breathing naturally slows and your mind begins to quiet, we'll journey together through the real truth about melatonin. From its accidental discovery on a winter day in 1958, when a scientist was looking for something completely different, to why the dose on your bottle might be doing more harm than good, to the hidden science of timing that pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know. We're going to discover why everything you thought you knew about melatonin supplements might be backwards, and how understanding your body's own natural sleep pharmacy might be the key to the rest you've been searching for. So, settle in now. Let your body find its most comfortable position. Allow your breathing to naturally slow, and prepare to discover why sleep isn't just the absence of wakefulness, but one of the most miraculous processes your body performs, and how melatonin serves as the gentle conductor of this nightly symphony. The night is calling to you, just as it has called to every human who has ever lived. And tonight, you're going to understand exactly how your body answers that call. As we begin this journey together into the mysteries of sleep, I want you to imagine that your brain is a magnificent concert hall. Vast, intricate, and filled with 86 billion musicians, each one a neuron, each one holding an instrument, each one waiting for tonight's performance to begin. Right now, as you listen to these words, this incredible orchestra is preparing for one of the most important concerts of your day. And at the very heart of this grand hall, in a place so small you could barely see it with the naked eye, sits the conductor, patient, wise, and already beginning to raise the baton for the evening's gentle symphony of sleep. Deep within your brain, nestled in a region called the hypothalamus, lives your body's master timekeeper. Scientists call it the suprachiasmatic nucleus, but you can think of it simply as your internal conductor, a tiny cluster of about 20,000 neurons, no larger than a grain of rice, yet wielding more influence over your daily rhythm than the brightest stars in the sky. To put this in perspective, if every neuron in your brain were a person standing in a vast field, your master clock would be a small group of friends barely visible in the distance. Yet these few thousand cells coordinate the activities of your entire body with a precision that would make the finest Swiss clockmaker weep with envy. Think about this for a moment. Right now, as you rest in the comfort of your bed, these neurons are reading the subtle signals that tell them night is approaching. They're sensing the gradual dimming of light that has reached your eyes throughout the day, the gentle cooling of your surroundings, the natural slowing of your thoughts and movements. All of these whispers of evening are being translated into the biological language of rest. But what exactly does this tiny conductor conduct? What instruments make up your body's sleep orchestra? The answer unfolds like the most beautiful evening symphony you've ever heard. As your internal conductor raises its baton, signals begin cascading throughout your body like ripples spreading across a moonlit pond. Your core body temperature starts its slow, purposeful descent. Not because you're becoming ill, but because coolness is your body's ancient signal that sleep is approaching. Your stress hormone cortisol begins its evening decline, gradually releasing its grip on your daytime alertness. And somewhere deep in your brain, a small gland shaped like a pine cone receives its cue to begin producing the star of tonight's performance, melatonin. But this nightly symphony has been playing for far longer than you might imagine. Your circadian rhythms are ancient, older than human language, older than civilization itself. They represent one of biology's most fundamental adaptations, allowing every living thing to anticipate and prepare for the predictable dance between day and night that has accompanied Earth's rotation for billions of years. Even now, as you listen to these words, your body is participating in a rhythm that connects you to every creature that has ever sought rest under the night sky. The same biological wisdom that guided your ancestors toward healing sleep still flows through your veins, still whispers in your cells, still knows exactly how to prepare you for the restorative embrace of night. Your circadian rhythms don't just control when you sleep. They orchestrate a beautiful daily dance of every system in your body. They tell your digestive system when to prepare for meals, your immune system when to launch its strongest defenses, your muscles when to be ready for action, and when to embrace relaxation. They even influence when your mind is sharpest for learning and when it's most open to the healing realm of dreams. These rhythms are so fundamental to life that they persist even when you're isolated from all external cues about time. Researchers have found that when people live in caves or specially designed apartments, without any clocks, windows, or time signals. Their bodies still maintain a sleep-wake cycle, usually running just slightly longer than 24 hours, like a gentle biological clock that needs the daily reset of sunrise to stay perfectly synchronized with the turning of the earth. As evening deepens around you now, feel this ancient wisdom stirring in your own body. Notice how your thoughts naturally begin to slow, how your breathing settles into a more peaceful rhythm, how your muscles seem to soften without any conscious effort on your part. This isn't something you need to force or control. It's as natural as the tides, as inevitable as the setting sun. Your internal conductor is reading all of these subtle changes, coordinating them with the precision of a master musician. And at the center of this coordination sits one of the most remarkable discoveries in sleep science: the understanding that light itself isn't just illumination, but information. Every photon that touches your eyes carries a message about the time of day, the season, even your place on the planet. Special cells in your retina, cells that have nothing to do with vision, detect this light and send their signals directly to your master timekeeper. These cells are like dedicated messengers, concerned only with answering the question, is it day or night? When brightness fills your day, these cellular messengers whisper, stay alert, stay active, to your internal conductor. But as darkness gathers, as it's gathering around you right now, their voices grow quiet. And in that beautiful silence, your body hears night's gentle call. This is why stepping outside into natural sunlight feels so energizing in the morning, and why the soft glow of candlelight feels so soothing in the evening. Your body remembers the rhythm of sunrise and sunset, even though our modern world blazes with artificial light long after the sun has set. That ancient wisdom still lives within. You still guides you, still knows the way back to natural rest. As the minutes pass, and you continue to rest here, something beautiful is building within your brain. A gentle pressure that grows stronger with each moment of wakefulness you've experienced today. Scientists call this sleep pressure, but you might recognize it as that gradual heaviness behind your eyes, that subtle slowing of thought and movement that increases as bedtime approaches. The messenger of this beautiful tiredness is a molecule with an almost musical name: adenosine. Imagine this simple chemical accumulating in your brain like morning dew collecting on grass, each droplet a marker of the mental energy you've expended, each molecule a gentle whisper saying, rest, restore, it's time to sleep. Every time your neurons fire, every thought you've thought today, every movement you've made, every moment you've been conscious and aware, your brain cells have been consuming energy in the form of a molecule called ATP. And when ATP breaks down to fuel your mental activity, it leaves behind adenosine, like gentle ashes from the fire of consciousness. Can you feel it now? That soft accumulation of sleepiness that's been building all day. As I speak these words, adenosine is quietly collecting in key regions of your brain, particularly in areas responsible for keeping you alert and aware. As these levels rise, adenosine begins to bind to special receptors on your neurons, receptors that, when activated, whisper that same simple message: rest, restore, it's time to sleep. This is why you feel most naturally tired in the late evening after a full day of thinking and moving and being, and it's why you wake refreshed in the morning when sleep has cleared away adenosine like the tide washing a beach clean. Think of your neurons as having tiny locks, and adenosine as the key that gently turns them toward rest. But here's something fascinating. Caffeine molecules are shaped just right to fit into those same locks, temporarily masking your natural tiredness by blocking adenosine's gentle message. It's not that caffeine creates energy. It simply prevents you from feeling the sleepiness that's naturally there. But adenosine is just one voice in the choir of sleepiness that's singing to you right now. As evening deepens, your core body temperature begins its nightly descent. Not a dramatic plunge, but a gentle decline of just 1 or 2 degrees that serves as one of your body's most reliable signals that sleep time approaches. Your hands and feet might actually be warming slightly as blood vessels dilate to release heat from your body's core, creating that cozy sensation that makes blankets feel so inviting. Meanwhile, the balance of chemical messengers in your brain shifts like instruments tuning before a performance. Orexin, a wake-promoting hormone with a name that sounds almost like a gentle incantation, gradually decreases its activity. Norepinephrine, which keeps parts of your brain alert during the day, begins to quiet its urgent whispers. And in a region of your brain called the ventrolateral preoptic area, neurons that produce GABA, your brain's primary calming neurotransmitter, increase their gentle, soothing influence. GABA is like your nervous system's lullaby, encouraging each neural network to quiet its chatter, to settle into the peaceful rhythms that prepare your mind for rest. As GABA's influence grows stronger, the constant background hum of daily mental activity begins to fade, like voices in a crowded room, gradually growing quiet as evening settles. Can you sense this beautiful transition happening within you right now? This gentle shift as your nervous system moves from the bright symphony of day to the soft, restorative lullaby of night. There's nothing you need to do to encourage this process. It's as natural as breathing, as automatic as your heartbeat. Your body knows how to sleep. It has known since the moment you were born. Every cell carries the ancient memory of rest and renewal. And every night, without your conscious effort, this profound wisdom guides you home to dreams. But there's something even more beautiful happening as sleepiness builds within you. Your brain isn't just getting tired. It's preparing for one of the most important activities of your entire day. During sleep, your brain will clear away the metabolic waste that's accumulated during wakefulness. It will consolidate memories, transferring important experiences from temporary storage to long-term keeping. It will regulate hormones, support immune function, and engage in countless processes of repair and restoration. Sleep isn't the absence of activity. It's a different kind of activity, as essential and complex as anything that happens during your waking hours. The sleepiness building within you now isn't your body shutting down. It's your body preparing for some of its most important work. Deep within your brain lies a pharmacy more sophisticated than any human creation, a collection of natural chemicals that work in perfect harmony to guide you between wakefulness and sleep. Each molecule has its role in tonight's performance, each one essential to the beautiful complexity of rest. At the heart of this natural pharmacy sits a structure so small it weighs less than a paperclip, yet so important that ancient philosophers thought it might house the human soul. Your pineal gland, nestled deep between the 2 hemispheres of your brain, serves as your body's most crucial factory for the hormone of sleep. To find this remarkable little gland, we must travel to one of the most protected places in your entire body, behind the blood-brain barrier that shields your nervous system from harm, yet connected through an intricate network of nerves to your eyes and your body's master clock. Here, in this sanctuary of safety and connection, Your pineal gland waits for darkness like a faithful timekeeper, ready to begin its nightly ritual of melatonin creation. But your pineal gland doesn't work alone. It's part of an intricate network of chemical communication that begins with the very food you've eaten today and ends with the dreams that will dance through your sleeping mind. The story of tonight's sleep begins with something as simple as the protein in your dinner. Hidden within those proteins was an amino acid called tryptophan, a building block that your body transforms through a series of elegant chemical steps. Let's follow this remarkable journey together. First, tryptophan becomes something called 5-hydroxytryptophan, then transforms into serotonin, that important neurotransmitter you may know for its role in mood and well-being during your waking hours. But the journey doesn't end there. In the quiet darkness of evening, deep within your pineal gland, serotonin undergoes one final, almost magical transformation. Two special enzymes with names that sound like ancient incantations, serotonin N, acetyltransferase, and acetylserotonin O, methyltransferase, work together to create melatonin. These enzymes are remarkably sensitive to light and darkness, their activity increasing sometimes 100-fold when night arrives. Can you imagine it? Right now, as darkness has settled around you, these molecular artists are beginning their nightly work deep within your brain. They're taking the serotonin that's been quietly waiting and transforming it into melatonin, molecule by precious molecule, like alchemists turning base metals into gold. But melatonin is just one voice in the choir of chemicals that's preparing you for sleep right now. Working alongside it is GABA, a gamma-aminobutyric acid, your brain's primary messenger of calm. GABA neurons scattered throughout your brain act like gentle brakes on your arousal systems, gradually quieting the neural networks that kept you awake and alert during the day. As GABA's influence grows stronger, you might notice your muscles beginning to relax, your breathing naturally deepening, your thoughts starting to drift like clouds across a peaceful sky. This isn't something you're causing to happen. It's your brain's own sophisticated chemistry creating the perfect internal environment for sleep. There's also adenosine, which we met in our last chapter, building throughout your waking hours and now reaching levels that promote deep, restorative rest. And even your stress hormone cortisol is playing its part in tonight's symphony, following its natural circadian rhythm by declining from daytime peaks, removing one more barrier to peaceful sleep. What's truly remarkable is how all these chemicals communicate with each other, forming a perfect regulatory circuit. Your pineal gland receives signals from your master clock in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which responds to light information from your eyes, which influences the production of melatonin, which feeds back to coordinate the timing of all your other biological rhythms. It's like watching the most perfectly choreographed dance, where each dancer knows exactly when to enter and exit the stage, when to lead and when to follow, when to be bold and when to fade into the background. And at the center of this dance, growing stronger with each passing moment of darkness, is melatonin, the gentle conductor of sleep. But what exactly is this mysterious hormone? Where did it come from? And how did scientists first discover its remarkable powers? The answer takes us back to a winter day in 1958, to a laboratory at Yale University, where a young scientist named Aaron Lerner was studying something that seemed to have nothing to do with sleep. He was investigating how certain substances could lighten the skin of frogs, working with thousands of pineal glands from cows never suspecting that he was about to discover one of sleep's most precious secrets. When he finally isolated a pure crystalline compound from these tiny glands, he named it melatonin, from the Greek words meaning to make dark, because of its effects on skin pigmentation. But Dr. Lerner had no idea that he had just discovered the hormone of sleep. That beautiful realization would come later, as researchers began to notice something intriguing about this mysterious compound. Its production followed a distinct rhythm, rising and falling with the cycle of light and darkness. Even more fascinating, when animals were exposed to artificial light during their normal sleeping hours, melatonin production plummeted. Slowly, like dawn breaking over a landscape, the truth began to emerge. Melatonin wasn't just a random biological compound. It was a chemical messenger, a translator that converted the simple presence or absence of light into a signal every cell in the body could understand. And so, melatonin earned its poetic nickname, the hormone of darkness. Not because it brings darkness, but because darkness brings it, summoning this gentle messenger from the hidden depths of the brain, like stars emerging in the evening sky. As you rest here now, can you sense this ancient process beginning within you? Somewhere in the quiet sanctuary of your pineal gland, melatonin is starting to flow into your bloodstream, carrying whispered messages of night to every corner of your being. It's binding to special receptors in your brain, gently encouraging the neural networks responsible for sleep, helping to coordinate the countless biological processes that make deep, restorative sleep possible. This isn't something foreign or artificial entering your system. It's your own body's wisdom, refined over millions of years of evolution, perfected through countless nights of rest and renewal. Every molecule of melatonin flowing through your bloodstream now is a testament to the incredible sophistication of your internal sleep system. But melatonin works differently than you might expect. Unlike medications that force changes in your brain chemistry, melatonin works more like a gentle suggestion, a biological whisper that says, "Night has arrived, and sleep would be welcome now." It doesn't knock you unconscious. Instead, it opens the door to sleep and invites you to walk through when you're ready. This is why melatonin's effects feel so natural, so much like your own body's transition towards sleep. Because that's exactly what it is. Your body's own transition towards sleep, made tangible, made visible in the form of a simple but elegant molecule. And so, we arrive at the heart of tonight's story, the tale of a hormone so gentle, so perfectly designed for its purpose, that it works like nature's own lullaby, sung directly to your cells in a language older than words. As you settle deeper into comfort, as your breathing continues its natural slowing, we're going to explore together the remarkable journey of melatonin, from its unexpected discovery to its gentle dance through your body, from the ancient wisdom of its natural rhythms to the modern science of supplemental support. This is more than just the story of a hormone. This is the story of how science learned to listen to your body's deepest wisdom, how researchers discovered that sometimes the most profound healing comes not from fighting against our biology, but from understanding and supporting the exquisite mechanisms our bodies have refined over millions of years. Picture, if you will, a laboratory at Yale University on a cold winter day in 1958. Snow might have been falling outside the windows as Dr. Aaron Lerner bent over his work, surrounded by beakers and scales, carefully processing thousands of tiny pineal glands from cattle. He was a man of extraordinary patience and precision, trained in both chemistry and medicine, uniquely equipped to unlock biological mysteries. But Dr. Lerner wasn't studying sleep. He had no idea he was about to discover one of rest's most precious secrets. Instead, he was fascinated by how certain animals could change the color of their skin, and he believed the pineal gland held the key to this mysterious process. Day after day, week after week, Dr. Lerner and his team processed these small, pine cone-shaped glands, grinding them up, extracting their chemicals, testing tiny amounts on frog skin cells. It was painstaking work. Imagine needing thousands and thousands of glands just to extract a few milligrams of pure substance. Like searching for pearls on an endless beach, hoping that somewhere in all this biological material lay a compound that could unlock the secrets of pigmentation. Then one day, break through. From those countless pineal glands, they isolated a single, crystalline substance. When they tested it on frog skin cells, something remarkable happened. The dark pigment granules clustered together, making the skin appear lighter. Dr. Lerner had found what he was looking for. Because this compound seemed related to melanin, the pigment that colors our skin, and derived from serotonin, he named it melatonin. But here's the beautiful irony of scientific discovery. Dr. Lerner had no idea that he'd just isolated the hormone of sleep. In that moment of triumph, as he held the first pure sample of melatonin in human history, he was thinking about skin color, not about the gentle tide of drowsiness that washes over us each night. It would take years, beautiful, patient years of scientific curiosity, for researchers to uncover melatonin's true calling. Gradually, like pieces of a puzzle coming together, scientists began to notice something intriguing about this mysterious compound. Its production in the pineal gland followed a distinct rhythm, rising dramatically with darkness and falling with light. Can you imagine the wonder those early researchers must have felt as they realized they had discovered something far more profound than a skin-lightening compound? They had found a biological messenger that translated the simple presence or absence of light into a chemical signal that every cell in the body could understand. As research continued through the 1960s and early 1970s, the picture became clearer and more beautiful. Melatonin wasn't just responding to light and darkness. It was carrying information about time itself. In animals that bred seasonally, melatonin levels reflected not just whether it was day or night, but how long the night was, effectively communicating what season it was to the entire body. Scientists began to call it the hormone of darkness, not because it brought darkness, but because darkness brought it forth, like stars appearing in the evening sky. This poetic name captured something essential about melatonin's nature. It emerges from our biology in response to the most fundamental rhythm on Earth, the daily dance between light and shadow. The scientific community's response was initially cautious, then increasingly excited as the implications became clear. Here was tangible proof of how our bodies stay synchronized with the world around us. Here was the missing link between the environment and our internal rhythms. Here was evidence that we are not separate from the natural world, but intimately connected to its most basic cycles. Dr. Lerner, working in his winter laboratory, had inadvertently discovered one of the most important sleep-regulating substances known to science. From his original quest to understand skin color in frogs, he had unlocked a hormone that would revolutionize our understanding of sleep, circadian rhythms, and the deep biological wisdom that guides us toward rest each night. As you lie here now, melatonin flowing gently through your system, you're experiencing the fruit of that winter day's work. The same hormone that Dr. Lerner first crystallized in his Yale laboratory is now whispering messages of rest to your cells, carrying the same ancient information about darkness and sleep that has guided countless creatures through countless nights. Now that we've met this gentle hormone and learned of its discovery, let's explore what melatonin actually is. Not just as a scientific compound, but as a beautiful expression of your body's ancient wisdom. Melatonin is born from the humblest beginnings. It starts its life as tryptophan, an amino acid that arrived in your body through the proteins you've eaten, perhaps in your dinner tonight or in yesterday's meals. Your body takes this simple building block and begins an elegant transformation that reads like poetry, written in the language of biochemistry. First, tryptophan becomes 5-hydroxytryptophan, then blossoms into serotonin, that neurotransmitter you might know for its role in happiness and well-being during your waking hours. But serotonin's journey doesn't end with daylight. As darkness falls, as you settle into the quiet of evening, something magical happens in the sanctuary of your pineal gland. Two enzymes with names like ancient spells. Serotonin, N-acetyltransferase, and acetylserotonin, O-methyltransferase, work together to transform serotonin into melatonin. These enzymes are exquisitely sensitive to light and darkness, increasing their activity by 50, even 100 times when night arrives. It's as if your brain contains molecular light switches that respond to the falling of dusk. The melatonin they create is elegantly simple, a small molecule with the chemical name N-acetyl-5-methoxytryptamine. But don't let the complexity of that name fool you. This molecule is perfectly designed for its purpose, small enough to slip through any barrier in your body, soluble in both water and fat, able to travel wherever your blood can carry it. Here's what makes melatonin so remarkable. It doesn't force sleep upon you like a heavy sedative might. Instead, melatonin works as what scientists call a chronobiotic, a substance that helps organize biological time itself. Think of it not as a sleeping pill, but as a gentle biological clock that whispers to every cell in your body, night has arrived. It may be time to rest. This is why melatonin feels so different from pharmaceutical sleep aids. When you take a traditional sleeping pill, you're typically overwhelming certain brain receptors, forcing a state of sedation regardless of what your body's natural rhythms might prefer. But melatonin works with your biology, not against it. It enhances and supports the sleep processes that are already trying to unfold within you. Melatonin serves as a translator between the external world and your internal biology. When darkness falls around you, as it's falling now, light-sensitive cells in your eyes send signals to your brain's master clock. This internal timekeeper then allows your pineal gland to begin releasing melatonin, effectively announcing to your entire body that the earth has turned toward night once again. But melatonin's message is subtle and respectful of your circumstances. If you need to stay awake for an emergency, if you're not quite ready for sleep, if your body and mind haven't completed their transition toward rest, melatonin doesn't override these needs. Instead, it simply opens a biological door, creating optimal conditions for sleep to occur when you're ready to walk through that door. This is why timing matters so much more than dosage with melatonin, since it works by providing information about the time of day rather than by forcing unconsciousness. Taking melatonin at the right moment in your circadian cycle can be profoundly effective, while taking it at the wrong time may have little effect at all. The melatonin molecule itself is a thing of elegant simplicity. Unlike complex pharmaceutical compounds designed in laboratories, Melatonin's structure has been refined over millions of years of evolution. Every atom is in exactly the right place. Every chemical bond perfectly calibrated for its function. When synthetic melatonin is created in laboratories today, chemists work to replicate this natural design with absolute precision, creating molecules that are identical to what your pineal gland produces. Your melatonin receptors, special proteins in your brain that recognize and respond to melatonin, can't tell the difference between the hormone your body makes and the identical molecule created in a laboratory. To your cells, melatonin is simply melatonin, regardless of its source. This perfect structural identity means that supplemental melatonin can work in complete harmony with your body's natural systems. As you rest here now, with melatonin beginning to flow through your system, imagine this gentle molecule as a biological key, perfectly shaped to fit the lock scattered throughout your brain and body. But unlike keys that force doors open, melatonin simply makes opening easier, more natural, more graceful. It's an invitation to rest, not a command to sleep. Let's follow melatonin on its nightly journey through your body. A voyage that begins in the protected sanctuary of your brain and ends with gentle whispers of sleep, reaching every cell in your being. The journey starts in your pineal gland, that tiny endocrine organ we've been visiting in our story. Despite weighing less than 1/10 of a gram, lighter than a single paper clip, this small gland serves as your body's most important timekeeper. It sits in a place of extraordinary privilege, nestled between your brain's two hemispheres, protected by the blood-brain barrier, yet connected through an intricate network of nerves to your eyes and your master biological clock. As darkness settles around you, as it's settling now, your suprachiasmatic nucleus, that master timekeeper we met earlier, begins to release its daytime inhibition of your pineal gland. It's like a conductor signaling the start of a performance. The message travels through your nervous system, down your spinal cord, out through your sympathetic nerves, and finally arrives at your pineal gland like a gentle knock on the door. The sun has set. It's time to begin the night shift. And so, the transformation begins. Your pineal cells, called pinealocytes, spring into action with the precision of master craftsmen. They gather the tryptophan that came from your recent meals, the serotonin that's been waiting patiently, and they begin the elegant four-step process that creates melatonin. What happens next is perhaps the most beautiful part of this entire process. Unlike many hormones that are created and stored in tiny, cellular warehouses, melatonin is released the moment it's made. There's no storage, no waiting, just immediate liberation into your bloodstream, like releasing a bird into the night sky. And so, melatonin begins its circulation through your body, traveling through your cardiovascular system like a gentle messenger in the river of your blood. About 70% binds to proteins in your bloodstream, particularly albumin, creating a steady reservoir that ensures consistent levels throughout the night. The remaining 30% floats freely, immediately available to deliver its quiet message wherever it's needed. Because of melatonin's elegant molecular structure, it passes easily through the blood-brain barrier, that selective filter that protects your nervous system from potentially harmful substances. This special access allows melatonin to reach the most important sleep centers in your brain, whispering its message directly to the neurons that control rest and wakefulness. Within about an hour of darkness falling, melatonin levels begin to rise significantly in your bloodstream, and its influence begins to unfold like ripples spreading across a quiet pond. The effects start almost immediately, the moment those first molecules begin their circulation through your system. Can you feel it happening now, as you rest here in the gentle darkness? That subtle shift in your physiology, the way your thoughts begin to slow and soften, your muscles relaxing as if responding to an unheard lullaby. This is melatonin at work, not forcing change, but facilitating the natural transition your body makes every night. But what exactly does melatonin do once it reaches its destinations throughout your body? How does this simple molecule create the complex symphony of changes that prepares your entire being for sleep? Now that we've followed melatonin on its journey through your body, let's pause for a moment to witness the quiet magic of what happens next. Picture melatonin as thousands of gentle messengers arriving at their destinations throughout your being, each one carrying a whispered invitation to rest. These messengers don't knock down doors or demand immediate attention. Instead, they approach two very special types of doorways in your brain. Doorways with elegant scientific names, MT1 and MT2 receptors. But you might think of them simply as the locks that melatonin's gentle keys are perfectly shaped to fit. When melatonin finds these receptors, something beautiful unfolds. It's like watching a skilled pianist's fingers find the right keys in the darkness, each touch creating not a harsh bang, but a soft resonant note that echoes through your entire system. The MT1 receptors cluster most densely in your suprachiasmatic nucleus, that master timekeeper we've visited before. When melatonin binds here, it's like a musician confirming with the conductor, yes, night has arrived, and the evening performance can begin. This creates a beautiful feedback loop, your internal clock, receiving confirmation that its timing is perfect, that the melatonin response is unfolding exactly as it should. The MT2 receptors scatter more broadly throughout your brain and body, serving as fine-tuning instruments. They help adjust the timing of all your biological rhythms, allowing your body to make gentle seasonal adjustments, to adapt gradually to changes in your schedule, to maintain harmony even when life's demands shift your usual patterns. But melatonin's influence ripples outward like circles, spreading across a moonlit pond. One of the most noticeable changes begins with something as simple as the warmth in your hands and feet. You may have felt this yourself, the way your extremities seem to grow warmer in the evening, even as your core body temperature begins its gentle descent towards sleep. This isn't coincidence. Melatonin is orchestrating a beautiful dance of warmth and cooling, causing your blood vessels to dilate slightly, sending heat to your hands and feet, while allowing your core temperature to drop. It's as if your body is gently releasing the accumulated warmth of the day, like opening windows to let in the cool night air. As this thermal transition unfolds, melatonin begins its gentle influence on your stress hormone systems. Throughout the day, cortisol has helped keep you alert and ready for action. But now, as darkness deepens, melatonin helps encourage cortisol's natural decline, not through force, but through the same patient encouragement with which evening naturally follows day. This hormonal rebalancing creates cascading waves of relaxation throughout your entire being. Your heart rate settles into a slower, more peaceful rhythm. Your breathing deepens naturally, drawing in the evening air with longer, more satisfying breaths. Muscle tension melts away like snow in warm sunlight, not through effort, but through the simple absence of the signals that were holding that tension in place. Can you feel it happening now as you listen to these words? That subtle unwinding, that gentle settling, as if every cell in your body is receiving a whispered message. The day's work is done. Rest is welcome here. Perhaps most remarkably, melatonin serves as a master synchronizer, keeping all the biological clocks scattered throughout your body, ticking in perfect harmony. You might be surprised to learn that virtually every organ in your body contains its own tiny timepiece. Your liver has its own circadian rhythm, as do your kidneys, your heart, your immune system. Even individual cells maintain their own microscopic clocks. Melatonin serves as the conductor that keeps all these timepieces synchronized, ensuring that your entire body transitions to its nighttime programs together. When this synchronization works perfectly, remarkable things begin to happen. Your immune system shifts into its nighttime mode, becoming more active in fighting off potential threats and repairing damage from the day. Your growth hormone production increases, supporting tissue repair and regeneration. Your memory consolidation processes activate, helping to transfer important experiences from temporary storage to permanent keeping. It's almost magical, isn't it? How something so small can orchestrate such complex and beautiful changes throughout your entire being. This is the art of melatonin, working not through force or overwhelm, but through harmony and support, enhancing the natural rhythms that have guided your species toward healing sleep for countless generations. And now we arrive at a question that touches the heart of our modern relationship with sleep. The delicate dance between what nature provides and what science can offer. In the quiet sanctuary of your pineal gland, melatonin production has been following rhythms older than human civilization, rising gradually like a gentle tide as darkness falls, holding steady through the deep hours of night, then ebbing away as morning light begins to filter through the world. Your body's natural melatonin follows a pattern of exquisite precision. Beginning around 9 or 10 in the evening, it starts its slow, graceful ascent, reaching its peak between 2 and 4 in the morning, then slowly declining as dawn approaches. This elegant curve spans 8 to 10 hours, providing sustained signaling throughout your entire sleep period. The amount your body produces is remarkably modest, perhaps half a milligram spread across the entire night. This natural melatonin carries with it the wisdom of your individual biology, timed perfectly to your personal circadian rhythm, automatically adjusted for the season, naturally responsive to your age, health, and the unique circumstances of your life. But what happens when this elegant system needs support? What occurs when the stresses of modern life, the harsh glare of artificial light, the demands of irregular schedules, or simply the natural changes of aging interfere with your pineal gland's delicate work? This is where science offers us a gentle gift, synthetic melatonin that is molecularly identical to what your body produces. When examined under the most powerful microscopes, studied with the most sophisticated instruments, there is absolutely no difference between natural and laboratory-created melatonin. The synthetic molecule has exactly the same structure, the same properties, the same ability to bind to your MT1 and MT2 receptors. Yet there are important distinctions between natural and supplemental melatonin, differences not in structure but in timing, concentration, and the broader context of how they work within your system. When you take a melatonin supplement, it enters your bloodstream more rapidly than your natural production would allow. Most supplements reach peak levels within 1 to 3 hours of ingestion, often creating higher concentrations than your body would naturally produce, but also clearing from your system more quickly than your natural rhythm would dictate. This difference in timing and duration helps explain why supplemental melatonin works best when it's used to support, rather than replace, your natural rhythms. The goal isn't to flood your system with artificial hormones, but to provide gentle enhancement when your own production needs assistance. And here's one of melatonin's most surprising secrets. More is definitely not better. While your intuition might suggest that higher doses would create stronger effects, research consistently shows the opposite. Doses of 0.5 milligram to 3 milligrams are often more effective than the 5, 10, or even 20 milligram doses found in many commercial products. Why would this be? The answer lies in understanding melatonin's true nature. Melatonin works as a signal, not a sedative. Once your MT1 and MT2 receptors are occupied by melatonin molecules, additional hormone provides no further benefit. Like trying to turn up a light switch that's already fully on. High doses may even backfire, overwhelming your delicate receptor systems or extending melatonin levels into the morning hours when they should naturally be declining. Some people who take very high doses report feeling groggy or disoriented the next day, not because melatonin is inherently sedating, but because their systems are receiving sleep signals at times when they should be receiving wake signals. The timing of supplemental melatonin matters even more than the dose. Taking melatonin too early in the evening can advance your circadian rhythm, potentially shifting your bedtime earlier than desired. Taking it too late provides little benefit, arriving after your natural melatonin has already begun its rise. The sweet spot, the timing that works in harmony with your biology, is typically 1 to 2 hours before your desired bedtime. This allows supplemental melatonin to join forces with your natural production, creating a gentle enhancement rather than a replacement. But perhaps the most important insight about melatonin, whether natural or supplemental, is that it works best as part of a larger commitment to sleep health. Melatonin cannot overcome poor sleep habits, cannot compensate for excessive caffeine or bright lights in the evening, cannot force sleep when your mind is racing with anxiety or your body is tense with stress. Instead, think of melatonin as a key that opens the door to sleep, but only when all the other conditions are right. Your bedroom must be cool and dark, your mind must be relatively calm, your body must be ready for rest. When these conditions align, melatonin's gentle influence can make the difference between lying awake and drifting peacefully into dreams. The beauty lies not in choosing between natural and supplemental melatonin, but in understanding how they can work together when needed, supporting and enhancing the remarkable sleep systems that nature has already provided. As we prepare to continue our journey together, we're going to explore how science learned to capture this gentle hormone in a tiny pill. The fascinating evolution from your brain's natural pharmacy to the supplement bottles that line store shelves today. We'll discover the delicate art of creating synthetic melatonin, the various forms it takes, and why understanding this process might transform how you think about supplemental sleep support. As we continue our gentle journey through the landscape of sleep, we now turn toward one of the most remarkable achievements of modern science, to capture the essence of night itself in a tiny pill. This isn't a story of forcing nature into artificial forms, but rather of learning to listen so carefully to biological whispers that we can replicate them with perfect precision. The path from understanding melatonin as a hormone to creating effective supplements represents decades of patient research, countless hours of careful laboratory work, and the gradual realization that sometimes the most powerful medicine comes not from overpowering the body's systems, but from supporting them with the gentlest possible touch. Tonight, we'll explore together how this remarkable transformation occurred, how scientists learned to create molecules identical to those your own body produces, and what this means for the millions of people seeking better sleep in our modern world. Picture, if you will, a laboratory in the late 1950s, just months after Dr. Lerner's groundbreaking discovery of melatonin. The scientific world was buzzing with excitement about this mysterious hormone of darkness, but creating it in meaningful quantities seemed almost impossible. Those early researchers were working with massive amounts of animal tissue just to extract microscopic quantities of pure melatonin, like trying to collect dewdrops from 1,000 morning flowers to fill a single teacup. It was painstaking work that required extraordinary patience and precision. Imagine processing thousands upon thousands of tiny pineal glands, each no larger than a grain of rice, grinding them carefully, extracting their precious chemicals, testing and purifying the results. It was like searching for pearls on an endless beach, hoping that somewhere in all this biological material lay enough pure melatonin to understand its secrets. But the scientists persisted, driven by the growing realization that they had discovered something profound. And then, in what seemed like a miracle of chemistry, came a breakthrough that would change everything. Within just 1 year of melatonin's discovery, chemists had learned to build this delicate molecule from scratch. No longer did researchers need countless pineal glands. They could craft melatonin in gleaming laboratories, atom by atom, bond by bond, until they held something identical to what your own brain creates each evening. It was as if they had learned to replicate the song of nightingales, note by perfect note. The chemical name of their creation was as elegant as it was complex: N-acetyl-5-methoxytryptamine. But more importantly, when they examined this synthetic melatonin under their most powerful instruments, when they tested its effects on living systems, they discovered something remarkable. It was identical in every way to the melatonin produced by nature. This wasn't an approximation or a chemical cousin. This was melatonin itself, created through human ingenuity, but identical to the gentle hormone that rises in your bloodstream each night. Yet it would take decades before this scientific achievement found its way to the medicine cabinet beside your bed. The story of how melatonin moved from laboratory curiosity to widely available supplement reveals fascinating differences in how various cultures approach the boundary between medicine and nature. In the United States, a pivotal moment came in 1994 with the passage of the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. This legislation classified melatonin as a dietary supplement rather than a pharmaceutical drug, allowing it to slip quietly onto pharmacy shelves with no prescription needed, no medical gatekeeping. Suddenly, melatonin was as available as vitamin C, as accessible as evening chamomile tea. But across the ocean in Europe, a different story was unfolding. There, melatonin remained classified as a prescription medication, carefully controlled and thoughtfully monitored. The same molecule, the same gentle hormone, but viewed through very different cultural lenses of safety and access. What drove this cultural shift towards seeking sleep in pills? Perhaps it was our modern world's accelerated pace, the way artificial light pushed back against natural darkness, the way jet travel scattered our rhythms across time zones like seeds in the wind. Suddenly, many people found themselves disconnected from their ancestral patterns of rest, and melatonin offered a bridge back to what we had lost. The scientists who created synthetic melatonin had achieved something truly remarkable. They had crafted a molecule that was not similar to or inspired by nature's design. It was identical, like making a key that fits your body's locks with absolute precision. Synthetic melatonin proved that sometimes human creativity and natural wisdom can work in perfect harmony. Deep in modern laboratories, a quiet alchemy unfolds each day. The transformation of simple chemical building blocks into one of nature's most elegant sleep signals. It's a process that combines cutting-edge chemistry with profound respect for biological design, like master craftsmen learning to replicate a masterpiece with perfect fidelity. The most common pathway begins with a compound called 5-methoxyindole, a name that sounds mystical but represents solid, practical chemistry. Through a carefully choreographed dance of chemical transformations involving precise temperature control, specific catalysts, and the patient work of skilled chemists, this humble starting material slowly takes on the molecular structure of melatonin. Imagine watching this transformation unfold, molecules being gently coaxed from one form to another, bonds being formed and reformed, until finally, after hours or days of careful work, the chemists hold in their hands something identical to what your pineal gland creates each evening. But science has found an even more elegant approach in recent years. Instead of forcing chemical transformations in glassware and reaction vessels, researchers have turned to biology itself. They've taught helpful bacteria to become tiny, invisible factories, consuming simple nutrients and producing pure melatonin, like microscopic versions of your own pineal gland, working around the clock. These engineered microorganisms represent a beautiful marriage of technology and biology. Fed with nutrients as basic as glucose and amino acids, they multiply and work, creating melatonin through the same fundamental biochemical pathways that exist in nature. It's farming at the molecular level, cultivating not crops, but pure, therapeutic molecules. The result, regardless of the method used, is something remarkable. Melatonin that is chemically identical to your body's own production. Every atom in exactly the right place, every bond holding with precisely the right strength. Under the most sophisticated analytical instruments available to science, there is no difference between what your pineal gland creates and what arrives in a small, round pill. But creating pure melatonin is only the beginning of the story. The next challenge lies in delivering it to your body in the most helpful way possible. This is where the art and science of pharmaceutical formulation comes into play. Some melatonin supplements are designed as immediate-release tablets, dissolving quickly in your stomach and sending their precious cargo into your bloodstream within 30 to 60 minutes. These work well for people who need help with sleep onset, providing a gentle nudge toward drowsiness at just the right time. Others are crafted as extended-release formulations designed to parcel out melatonin gradually over many hours. Like a gentle stream rather than a sudden shower, these supplements maintain therapeutic levels throughout much of the night, helping not just with falling asleep, but with staying asleep. Some people prefer liquid drops, which absorb even faster and allow for the precise adjustment of very small doses. This form is particularly helpful for children or older adults who might be sensitive to larger amounts, or for anyone wanting to fine-tune their personal dose with scientific precision. And then there are the gummy formulations, a testament to our culture's desire to make even medicine feel pleasant and approachable. These chewable supplements make the bedtime routine feel more like a small treat than taking medicine, though they require careful attention to dosing accuracy. Quality matters deeply in this delicate process. Because melatonin works in such small amounts, sometimes just fractions of a milligram, purity becomes essential. When manufactured under pharmaceutical-grade standards, each pill contains exactly what the label promises. No more, no less, no contaminating compounds to disrupt the delicate chemistry of sleep. However, because melatonin is regulated as a dietary supplement in some countries, studies have discovered concerning variations between products. Some contain much more than labeled amounts, others much less. Some include unexpected ingredients or contaminants. This is why choosing reputable manufacturers and looking for third-party testing becomes so important. Ensuring that your gentle sleep aid contains exactly what you expect it to contain. Now comes perhaps the most fascinating chapter of our story, the remarkable journey a melatonin supplement takes through your body. It's an adventure that begins the moment a small tablet touches your tongue and ends with gentle signals reaching the deepest sleep centers of your brain. When you swallow a melatonin supplement, it first encounters your stomach, that patient, acidic chamber where digestion begins. The stomach's powerful acids don't harm melatonin. Instead, they simply help free the hormone from its tablet matrix, like carefully opening an envelope to reveal the message inside. From your stomach, melatonin travels to your small intestine, where something interesting happens. Only about half of the melatonin you swallow actually makes it into your bloodstream. This might seem inefficient, but it's actually your body's wise system of regulation at work, ensuring that even if you take more than needed, you won't be overwhelmed by excessive effects. But here's where the journey becomes even more intriguing. The melatonin that does get absorbed doesn't go directly to your brain. Instead, it takes what scientists call the first-pass route through your liver, that remarkable organ that works tirelessly to process almost everything you consume. Your liver sees this incoming melatonin and immediately begins to metabolize a portion of it, breaking it down through specialized enzymes. This isn't your liver fighting against the melatonin. It's simply following its ancient programming to maintain balance and prevent any single substance from overwhelming your system. What survives this first encounter with your liver enters your general circulation, traveling through your cardiovascular system like gentle messengers in the flowing river of your blood. And here's the beautiful part. Melatonin easily crosses from your blood into your brain, slipping through the blood-brain barrier as if it belongs there, which of course it does. The timing of this entire journey, from pill to brain receptor, typically takes 30 to 90 minutes. Not the instant effect of some medications, but the gradual, natural timeline that allows your body to recognize and respond to melatonin's gentle presence. This is why timing matters so much more than dosage. For help falling asleep, taking melatonin 30 to 60 minutes before bed allows it to reach peak levels as you're settling into your evening routine. For shifting your body clock, such as recovering from jet lag, taking it earlier provides the circadian timing signals your brain needs to gradually adjust its expectations. Once melatonin reaches your brain, it seeks out those specialized receptors we met earlier, the MT1 and MT2 proteins that recognize melatonin like old friends, recognizing each other in a crowded room. The binding is specific and gentle, triggering cascades of cellular communication that ultimately translate into the subjective experience of growing drowsy. The half-life of supplemental melatonin, the time it takes for half of it to be cleared from your system, is relatively short, usually between 30 minutes to 2 hours. This rapid clearance explains why melatonin's sleep-promoting effects are generally gentle and time-limited, and why some people find they need extended-release formulations to maintain effects throughout the night. But there's something important to understand about individual differences. Some people metabolize melatonin quickly, while others process it more slowly. These differences are partly genetic, partly influenced by age, health status, and other medications. This biological variability helps explain why the same dose that works perfectly for one person might have little effect on another, or why some people experience longer-lasting effects than others. The key insight is that melatonin's journey through your body is not a mechanical process, but a biological conversation. Your liver enzymes, your bloodstream, your brain receptors, all are participating in a complex dialogue that determines how effectively supplemental melatonin supports your natural sleep systems. Here we discover one of melatonin's most beautiful and counterintuitive secrets, that in the realm of sleep, whispers often carry more power than shouts. Unlike most supplements, where higher doses typically create stronger effects, melatonin follows the elegant rules of biological signaling, where less is often more, and timing is everything. Most adults find their sweet spot somewhere between 0.5 milligram and 3 milligrams, doses that might seem impossibly small compared to other supplements you might take. But consider this remarkable fact. Your own pineal gland produces only about 10 to 80 micrograms during its peak nighttime hours. That's just 0.01 to 0.08 milligrams. Even the smallest supplemental dose creates blood levels many times higher than nature originally intended. Why does this matter? Because melatonin receptors are like tiny parking lots that can only hold so many cars. Once every space is occupied, additional melatonin provides no extra benefit and may actually create confusion in the delicate timing signals your brain relies upon. Think of melatonin as a gentle conductor raising a baton to begin an evening symphony. The orchestra responds not to the volume of the gesture, but to its precise timing and elegant simplicity. When the conductor shouts instead of whispering, the musicians become confused rather than inspired. Research tells a consistent story. Doses above 5 milligrams rarely improve sleep more than lower amounts, and often create unwanted effects like morning grogginess or vivid, sometimes unsettling dreams. It's as if melatonin works best when it mirrors nature's own gentle approach. Subtle, patient, and perfectly timed. But if dosage requires a light touch, timing demands the precision of a master musician. Melatonin works best when it arrives as a gentle prelude to your body's natural evening transition. For most people seeking better sleep onset, taking melatonin 30 to 60 minutes before intended bedtime allows the gradual rise of sleepiness to coincide with your bedtime routine. Think of properly timed melatonin as setting a gentle biological alarm clock for sleep. Not the jarring buzz that startles you awake, but the soft chime that reminds you it's time to begin winding down. It opens a window of opportunity, a period when sleep becomes easier and more natural to achieve. This is why consistency becomes so important. Your circadian system thrives on predictable patterns. When melatonin arrives at the same time each evening, your brain begins to anticipate and prepare for its gentle signal. The ritual itself becomes part of the sleep process. The simple act of taking your small dose becomes a cue that tells your entire system, the day is ending, rest is coming. Individual variations make this timing deeply personal. Night owls, those whose natural rhythms run late, may need to take melatonin earlier in the evening to help advance their sleep phase. Morning larks might need different timing to avoid excessive early drowsiness. Your own chronotype, your natural sleep-wake preferences, becomes your guide to finding the perfect window. The goal is never to force sleep, but to create optimal conditions for it to arise naturally. Like tending a garden, you provide the right environment, the proper nutrients, the correct timing, and then allow nature to do what it does best. So what does melatonin actually feel like as it begins its gentle work? This is where melatonin reveals its truly unique character, so different from the sledgehammer approach of traditional sleeping pills that many people find the experience surprising in its subtlety. The onset is gradual, like watching the sky slowly darken at dusk. You don't suddenly feel sedated or drowsy in the overwhelming way that prescription sleep aids can create. Instead, there's a gentle pulling, a quiet invitation toward rest that feels entirely natural, as if your body is simply remembering something it already knows how to do. Many people describe it as feeling like their natural bedtime tiredness, but available on schedule, regardless of the day's stress or excitement. It's as if melatonin reminds your body of its own wisdom, gently clearing away the mental static that sometimes interferes with the peaceful transition from day to night. Unlike pharmaceutical sleep aids that often disrupt your natural sleep architecture, melatonin preserves the delicate structure of normal sleep. Your brain still cycles through its natural stages, light sleep giving way to deep, restorative, slow-wave sleep, then the vivid memory-consolidating world of REM dreams. The proportions remain healthy, the transitions stay smooth, the morning awakening feels natural rather than artificially forced. This preservation of natural sleep architecture is one of melatonin's greatest gifts. You wake feeling refreshed rather than groggy, alert rather than confused, ready to embrace the day rather than struggling to escape the lingering fog of pharmaceutical sedation. The primary effect of immediate-release melatonin typically occurs within the first few hours after taking it, which is why it's particularly helpful for falling asleep rather than staying asleep throughout the night. Extended-release versions stretch this gentle influence across 8 or more hours, providing support for those who struggle not just with falling asleep, but with remaining peacefully at rest until morning. What you won't experience is the knockout effect that many people expect from sleep aids. Melatonin doesn't shut down your consciousness like flipping a switch. Instead, it helps coordinate the natural processes that lead to sleep, joining the existing choir rather than trying to sing over it. Some people notice their dreams become more vivid or memorable while using melatonin. This isn't necessarily a side effect, but rather a sign that their REM sleep is becoming more robust and regular. The hormone helps stabilize sleep cycles, and stable cycles often mean more consistent, restorative periods of dreaming. The key to understanding the melatonin experience is patience and proper expectations. This isn't a medication that works dramatically on the first night for everyone. Sometimes it takes several days or even weeks of consistent use for your circadian system to fully respond to the gentle timing cues. Like learning a new dance, your brain and body need time to synchronize with this additional rhythm. But for many people, once that synchronization occurs, once their sleep system learns to recognize and respond to supplemental melatonin, the effect becomes reliable and welcome. A small ritual that helps bridge the gap between the demands of modern life and the ancient needs of restorative sleep. And now, as our journey through the science of melatonin continues, we find ourselves at the shores of a much larger ocean, the vast, interconnected world of human sleep in all its complexity and wonder. Melatonin, remarkable as it is, represents just one thread in the rich tapestry of rest, one note in the grand symphony of factors that influence how we sleep and why. Here, in this broader landscape, we'll discover when melatonin shines brightest and where its gentle light might need the support of other approaches. We'll separate the myths that have grown up around this popular supplement from the quiet truths that science has revealed. and we'll explore the beautiful reality that the best sleep often comes not from any single solution, but from understanding and nurturing the entire ecosystem of rest that lives within each of us. Picture Sarah stepping off a plane in London, her body still humming with New York rhythms while the London afternoon light streams through terminal windows. Her internal clock insists it's still morning in America, but her destination demands she adapt to a completely different time. This is jet lag, that peculiar biological displacement that affects millions of travelers worldwide. And it's here that melatonin reveals some of its most remarkable powers. Research shows us that melatonin is extraordinarily effective for preventing or reducing jet lag, particularly when traveling eastward across 5 or more time zones. The science is elegant in its simplicity. Melatonin helps reset the master clock in your brain, gently coaxing your circadian rhythms to align with your new environment rather than fighting against it. For travelers like Sarah, the protocol becomes a gentle ritual of adaptation. Beginning 3 days before departure, she takes 0.5 to 1 milligram of melatonin at her intended London bedtime. Not when she would normally sleep in New York, but when she wants to sleep in London. It's like sending advance messengers to her circadian system, saying, "Prepare for a new rhythm. Soon we will dance to London time." The beauty of this approach lies in its cooperation with biology rather than domination of it. Instead of forcing adaptation through caffeine and willpower, melatonin works with the same natural systems that have helped humans adjust to seasonal changes for millennia. Now imagine Maria, an ICU nurse whose work demands she remain alert through the deep hours when most of the world sleeps. Night shift work creates a unique biological challenge, asking the body to be wakeful when every ancestral instinct calls for rest, then seeking sleep when the sun insists it's time to be active. For shift workers like Maria, melatonin can serve as a bridge between the demands of modern life and the ancient rhythms encoded in our biology. Research suggests that 3 milligrams of melatonin, taken 30 minutes before her desired sleep time, can help encourage the circadian adaptation her work requires. But the key lies in understanding that melatonin works best as part of a comprehensive approach that includes careful light management and consistent sleep scheduling. The timing becomes crucial. Maria takes her melatonin just before attempting daytime sleep, while also using blackout curtains to create artificial nighttime and wearing dark sunglasses during her morning drive home. It's a delicate choreography of biology and environment, with melatonin serving as one essential dancer in a larger performance. Melatonin also offers particular hope for those dealing with specific circadian rhythm disorders, conditions where the body's internal clock persistently runs out of sync with the desired schedule. For people with delayed sleep phase disorder, whose natural bedtime might be 2 or 3 a.m., regardless of their wishes, properly timed melatonin can gradually coax the circadian rhythm forward, like gently winding a clock that's been running slow. The protocol requires patience and precision, taking melatonin 3 to 4 hours before the current natural sleep time, combined with morning light exposure and consistent evening routines. Over weeks and months, many people find their natural bedtime gradually shifting earlier, bringing their biology into better alignment with social expectations. For occasional insomnia, those nights when worry, excitement, or change disrupts our usual ease into sleep, melatonin offers a gentle hand, not a forceful push into unconsciousness, but a quiet reminder to the body of what it already knows how to do. The key lies in understanding that melatonin works primarily as a timing regulator rather than a sedative, most effective when sleep difficulties are related to circadian disruption rather than other factors like stress, pain, or environmental disturbance. Consider David experiencing temporary sleep difficulties during a stressful work period. He finds that 1 to 2 milligrams of melatonin, taken 90 minutes before his intended bedtime, helps him fall asleep more consistently, but only when combined with stress reduction techniques and attention to his evening environment. Melatonin opens the door to sleep, but David still needs to walk through it willingly. In the quiet corners of the internet and the whispered conversations between weary friends, myths about melatonin have taken root like wildflowers in an abandoned garden, beautiful perhaps in their hope, but not always accurate in their claims. Let's walk together through these misconceptions with the gentle light of scientific understanding, not to criticize those who believe them, but to illuminate a clearer path toward better rest. The first myth whispers that melatonin works like a natural sleeping potion, knocking you out within minutes of taking it. But the truth is far more elegant and patient. Melatonin works gradually, typically requiring 1 to 3 hours to reach its peak effect. It doesn't cause immediate sedation, but rather creates favorable conditions for your body's own natural sleep process to unfold, like dimming the lights in a theater before the performance begins. The darkness doesn't force the show to start, but it signals that the time has come. This gradual onset often surprises people accustomed to the rapid action of over-the-counter sleep aids or prescription medications. They take melatonin expecting immediate drowsiness, and when it doesn't arrive within 20 minutes, they assume the supplement isn't working. But melatonin is playing a longer, more sophisticated game, working with your natural circadian rhythms rather than overriding them. The second myth suggests that more is always better, that if 1 milligram helps, surely 10 milligrams would help 10 times more. But here's where melatonin reveals its subtle wisdom. Research consistently shows that higher doses often produce worse outcomes, not better ones. It's like music played too loudly. The message becomes distorted rather than clearer. Your melatonin receptors become saturated at relatively low hormone concentrations. Once every parking space is filled, additional cars circling the lot provide no benefit and may actually create traffic jams. High doses can overwhelm these delicate receptor systems, creating artificially elevated melatonin levels that persist into the morning when they should naturally be declining. Some people who take very high doses report feeling groggy or disoriented the next day. This isn't because melatonin is inherently sedating. It's because their systems are receiving sleep signals at inappropriate times, like hearing a lullaby during a morning meeting. The third myth carries the weight of worry, the fear that melatonin might be addictive like prescription sleep medications. But scientific evidence offers comfort here. Melatonin does not create physical dependence or tolerance. It doesn't bind to the same brain systems that create addiction. And stopping melatonin doesn't cause withdrawal symptoms. What can develop is a psychological comfort with the routine, a gentle reliance on the ritual of taking melatonin as part of preparing for sleep. But this is more like becoming accustomed to your favorite blanket than developing a chemical dependency. The comfort comes from the routine and the confidence it provides, not from any addictive properties of the hormone itself. Why do these myths persist? Perhaps because we live in a culture that values dramatic solutions, quick fixes that promise instant transformation. But melatonin's gift lies in its subtlety. working with your body's ancient wisdom rather than overpowering it. Understanding why excess melatonin backfires reveals the elegant logic of biological systems. When you flood your receptors with far more hormone than they expect, several things can happen. The receptors may become less sensitive over time, the timing signals become confused, and the natural feedback loops that regulate your sleep-wake cycle can be disrupted. It's like shouting instructions to a sensitive musician. The louder you get, the less likely they are to play beautifully. Melatonin works best as a whispered suggestion, not a shouted command. As we explore melatonin safety together, imagine wrapping yourself in a soft blanket of understanding. Most people who use melatonin experience its benefits without significant concerns. But like any supplement that touches our delicate internal rhythms, awareness serves as our gentle guide. The most common side effects are mild and infrequent. In clinical trials involving thousands of participants, researchers found that daytime sleepiness occurred in about 1.7% of users, headaches in less than 1%, and dizziness in about 0.7%. These effects often indicate that the dose is too high or the timing needs adjustment, like a gentle nudge from your body saying, "Let's try this differently." Some people discover that melatonin brings more vivid dreams that seem painted in brighter colors, more detailed and memorable than usual. While not harmful, these intense dreams can sometimes feel overwhelming. This occurs because melatonin helps stabilize sleep cycles, and more stable cycles often mean more robust, REM sleep periods, where vivid dreaming occurs. If vivid dreams become disruptive, a smaller dose often provides the same sleep benefits with less dramatic dream activity. It's like adjusting the volume on a radio. You can still hear the music clearly without it overwhelming your senses. More serious side effects are rare, but worth understanding. A few individuals have experienced allergic reactions, including difficulty breathing or swelling. Such reactions require immediate medical attention and indicate that melatonin may not be appropriate for that person. Melatonin can interact with certain medications in ways that matter for your safety. Blood thinners like warfarin may have enhanced effects when combined with melatonin, potentially increasing bleeding risk. Some blood pressure medications may work more strongly in combination with melatonin, as the hormone can have mild effects on cardiovascular function. Diabetes medications require particular attention, as melatonin may influence glucose metabolism. People taking insulin or other diabetes medications should monitor their blood sugar more carefully when starting melatonin and discuss the combination with their healthcare provider. For children and adolescents, melatonin requires especially thoughtful consideration. Growing bodies and developing circadian systems may be more sensitive to hormonal influences. While melatonin can help children with autism spectrum disorders or ADHD-related sleep difficulties, pediatric use should always unfold under medical guidance, typically starting with the smallest possible doses. The elderly face different considerations. Natural melatonin production declines significantly with age. Older adults may produce only 10% of the melatonin levels seen in young people. This decline helps explain why sleep difficulties become more common as we age. For elderly individuals, very low doses, sometimes as little as 0.25 milligrams, can be surprisingly effective. However, older adults also metabolize medications more slowly, meaning melatonin's effects may last longer. They may be taking multiple medications that could interact with melatonin, and they face increased risk of falls if morning grogginess occurs. Careful dose selection and medical supervision become even more important. Pregnant and breastfeeding women face the most complex considerations. Melatonin crosses the placental barrier and passes into breast milk, but we don't yet fully understand how this affects developing babies. Natural melatonin levels change during pregnancy as part of normal physiological adaptations, but adding supplemental melatonin to this delicate balance raises questions that research hasn't yet fully answered. During these precious times of nurturing new life, healthcare providers generally recommend exploring other approaches to sleep support first. Optimizing sleep hygiene, managing stress, adjusting the sleep environment. If melatonin is considered, it should only be under careful medical supervision with full understanding of the unknown risks. The quality of melatonin supplements varies significantly between manufacturers. Because they're often regulated as dietary supplements rather than pharmaceuticals, the amount of melatonin in a pill may not always match what's promised on the label. Some products have been found to contain 10 times the labeled amount, while others contain barely any active ingredient at all. To ensure you're getting a reliable product, look for brands that have been tested by third-party organizations like USP, NSF International, or Consumer Lab. These small symbols on the bottle are like gentle assurances that what's inside matches what's promised on the outside. Now, as the night deepens around us, let's explore perhaps the most beautiful aspect of melatonin's story: how to coax your own body's natural production of this gentle hormone. Like tending a garden in twilight, small attentions to your evening environment can yield profound changes in your sleep. Your pineal gland releases the most melatonin in response to darkness and decreases production when exposed to light. This ancient dance between light and darkness has guided human sleep for millennia. Yet our modern world has complicated this simple rhythm with artificial illumination that persists long past sunset. Imagine creating an evening sanctuary in your own home, beginning 2 to 3 hours before your desired bedtime. You might start dimming your lights to levels that would have been familiar to your ancestors. The warm, golden glow of firelight, rather than the harsh blue-white intensity of modern bulbs. Research shows that even exposure to light as dim as a single candle can begin to suppress your natural melatonin production if your eyes have been adapted to darkness. This means that gentle night lights and the soft glow of digital clocks become important considerations in your sleep sanctuary. Consider how the changing seasons affect your natural melatonin rhythm. In winter, when darkness arrives early, your body may naturally want to produce melatonin for longer periods. In summer, with its extended daylight, maintaining consistent sleep timing requires more intentional creation of darkness in your evening environment. But creating darkness is only half of this gentle dance. Morning sunlight exposure within the first hour of waking serves as nature's alarm clock, suppressing any residual melatonin and setting your circadian rhythm for the day ahead. Even 10 to 30 minutes of natural light, whether from a morning walk or breakfast by a sunny window, can significantly improve your evening melatonin production. Your diet also whispers to your melatonin production in ways both direct and indirect. Foods rich in tryptophan, that amino acid building block we've met before, provide the raw materials your body transforms into serotonin and then into melatonin. Turkey and chicken, fish and eggs, beans and nuts all offer these essential building blocks for rest. Some foods even contain small amounts of melatonin directly. Tart cherries hold the highest natural concentration, followed by walnuts, certain types of fish, and whole grains like oats and barley. While these amounts are modest compared to supplements, they represent nature's own approach to sleep support. Gentle, gradual, and perfectly integrated into the larger context of nutrition. A warm bath, taken 1 to 2 hours before bedtime, can trigger your body's natural temperature drop. That cooling effect that signals to your brain that sleep time approaches. The ritual itself becomes part of the melatonin-supporting routine, the slowing down, the warm water, the transition from the active demands of day to the receptive openness of night. Simple breathing exercises can complement your body's natural rhythms beautifully. The 4-7-8 technique, inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 7, and exhaling for 8, activates your parasympathetic nervous system and creates space for your own melatonin to work its gentle magic. Progressive muscle relaxation, starting with your toes and slowly moving up through your entire body, helps release the physical tensions that can interfere with your natural transition towards sleep. As you consciously relax each muscle group, you're essentially telling your entire system that the day's work is done and rest is welcome. Even your thoughts and emotions can support or hinder natural melatonin production. Worry and anxiety activate stress hormones that directly oppose melatonin's calming influence. Gentle practices like gratitude journaling, loving-kindness meditation, or simply reviewing the day's small pleasures can create the mental conditions where melatonin can rise naturally and effectively. The key is understanding that your body already knows how to create perfect sleep chemistry. It simply needs the right conditions and encouragement. By working with your natural rhythms rather than against them, you can often restore healthy melatonin production without ever needing a supplement. As we near the end of this part of our journey together, it becomes clear that melatonin, whether naturally optimized or gently supplemented, represents just one thread in the rich tapestry of healthy sleep. Like a single instrument in an orchestra, it plays its part beautifully, but the full symphony requires harmony among many elements. Sleep difficulties often arise from multiple sources, each requiring its own form of attention and care. Chronic stress elevates cortisol levels, which directly oppose melatonin's calming influence. Underlying medical conditions like sleep apnea or restless leg syndrome require specific treatment beyond what melatonin alone can provide. Environmental factors, noise, uncomfortable temperature, or an unsuitable mattress can override even perfectly timed melatonin. The foundation of healthy sleep rests on what sleep experts call sleep hygiene: consistent timing, optimal environment, and supportive daily habits. Going to bed and waking at similar times each day, even on weekends, helps stabilize your circadian rhythm more powerfully than any supplement. Regular physical activity, though not too close to bedtime, builds the natural fatigue that makes sleep feel effortless rather than elusive. Stress management becomes equally important in this holistic approach. Whether through mindfulness practices, gentle yoga, journaling, or simply creating transition time between your active day and your restful night, addressing the mind's activity supports whatever melatonin is trying to accomplish in your body. Think of comprehensive sleep care as creating the perfect conditions for a garden to flourish. Rich soil, appropriate watering, adequate sunlight, protection from harsh elements. No single factor guarantees growth, but together they create an environment where natural processes can unfold beautifully. Sometimes, despite our gentlest efforts, sleep remains elusive. If you find yourself lying awake 3 or more nights per week for several months, experiencing loud snoring with pauses in breathing, or feeling excessively tired despite adequate time in bed, These may be signals that professional evaluation could help identify underlying issues that lifestyle changes and melatonin cannot address alone. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, has emerged as one of the most effective treatments for chronic sleep difficulties. Rather than relying on medications or supplements, CBTI helps people identify and change the thoughts and behaviors that interfere with sleep. It works by addressing the root causes rather than just the symptoms, often providing more lasting relief than any pill can offer. The beautiful truth is that most sleep problems can be significantly improved through patient attention to sleep hygiene, stress management, and the natural rhythms that guide healthy rest. Melatonin, whether produced by your own body or taken as a supplement, works best when it's part of this larger commitment to sleep health. The integration of all these elements requires patience and self-compassion. Sleep improvement rarely follows the dramatic arc we might hope for, but instead unfolds gradually, like seasons changing or flowers blooming. The people who achieve the most lasting improvements are those who approach sleep care with curiosity rather than urgency, with kindness toward themselves rather than harsh criticism when difficulties arise. And now, as we near the end of our gentle journey together, we find ourselves standing at the edge of tomorrow, gazing into the future of sleep science with wonder and hope. Here, where current understanding meets limitless possibility, we discover that the story of melatonin and sleep is far from finished. Instead, we're witnessing just the opening chapters of a much larger tale about how science and human wisdom can work together to restore one of life's most essential gifts. The future of sleep medicine sparkles with promise. Personalized therapies that honor each person's unique biology, technologies that work in harmony with our natural rhythms, and a deeper understanding of sleep as not just rest, but renewal. Not just unconsciousness, but the very foundation of health, creativity, and joy. In laboratories around the world tonight, as you listen to these words and prepare for rest, researchers are peering deeper into the mysteries of human sleep than ever before. They're discovering that our understanding of melatonin and sleep has only scratched the surface of what's possible when we learn to work with, rather than against, the ancient rhythms that govern our lives. Imagine a future where your doctor prescribes not just what medicine to take, but precisely when to take it based on your unique circadian signature. This emerging field, called chronotherapy, recognizes that our bodies aren't static landscapes, but flowing rivers of time-dependent activity. The same healing compound might be 10 times more effective at dawn than at dusk, 10 times gentler when given in harmony with your natural rhythms rather than fighting against them. We're already seeing the first glimpses of this future in cancer treatment centers, where chemotherapy is timed to patients' circadian cycles, reducing side effects while improving effectiveness. In cardiology, where we've learned that heart medications work differently depending on whether they're taken in morning light or evening darkness. Even in psychiatry, where the timing of antidepressant therapy can determine success or failure. The future of melatonin therapy is becoming as individual as a fingerprint. Scientists are discovering that genetic variations in melatonin receptor genes influence how each person responds to this gentle hormone. Some people carry variations that make them exquisitely sensitive to even the smallest doses, while others need different amounts or different timing to find their way to rest. Tomorrow's melatonin therapies might be crafted specifically for you. like a lullaby written in your personal key. Smart delivery systems could release the hormone exactly when your individual circadian clock is ready to receive it. Patches might deliver steady whispers of sleep signals throughout the night. Formulations could adjust to your unique chronotype, your natural tendency toward morning or evening alertness. But perhaps the most exciting frontier lies in understanding melatonin's role far beyond sleep. Researchers are exploring its potential as a guardian against aging, a supporter of immune function, even a protector of memory and cognitive health. Each study reveals new facets of this remarkable molecule, like turning a crystal in sunlight to discover hidden colors. The future may bring us combinations of light therapy, personalized nutrition, environmental optimization, and precisely timed melatonin, all orchestrated by artificial intelligence that learns your patterns and needs better than you know them yourself. Imagine smart homes that gradually adjust light, temperature, and even air quality throughout the day to support your natural circadian rhythms, with melatonin serving as one perfectly timed note in a comprehensive symphony of rest. Yet for all these technological marvels on the horizon, the most important discoveries may be the simplest: that sleep is not a luxury, but a necessity, not a weakness, but a strength, not time lost, but time invested in every aspect of human flourishing. But here's what the scientists already know, what they've learned from studying thousands of sleepers across decades of research. Your sleep journey is uniquely yours, and it unfolds not in dramatic transformations, but in gentle, patient steps, like the gradual lightening of dawn or the slow deepening of dusk. The path toward better sleep happens like the changing of seasons, gradually, sometimes imperceptibly, but ultimately profoundly. Those who approach sleep improvement with curiosity rather than urgency, with self-compassion rather than self-criticism, are the ones who find the most lasting peace with rest. Your body already knows how to sleep deeply and well. This knowledge is written into your cells, inherited from countless generations who found rest under starlit skies long before electric lights or alarm clocks existed. When you establish consistent rhythms, when you honor your natural need for darkness and quiet, when you treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a beloved friend, you're not learning something new. You're remembering something ancient. The gentle discipline of going to bed at the same time each night, the ritual of dimming lights as evening deepens, the practice of releasing the day's worries before your head touches the pillow. These aren't burdens to carry, but gifts you give yourself. Each night, you're participating in humanity's oldest ceremony, the sacred transition from waking consciousness to healing rest. Some nights will be easier than others, and that's perfectly natural. The moon waxes and wanes, the tides ebb and flow, and your sleep, too, will have its own rhythms and variations. On the challenging nights, when sleep seems elusive, remember that difficulty with rest is part of the human experience. You're not broken, you're not failing. You're simply navigating one of life's most fundamental rhythms. Progress in sleep, like progress in life, often happens in ways we don't immediately notice. A few minutes less time lying awake, a deeper sense of refreshment upon waking, a growing trust in your body's natural wisdom. These changes accumulate like compound interest, small improvements building upon each other until one day you realize that rest has become your friend, rather than your struggle. The key is patience with the process and compassion for yourself along the way. Like tending a garden, improving sleep requires daily attention to small rituals, gentle adjustments, and above all, Trust in natural processes that unfold in their own time and their own way. And so we come to the end of our story together, though really it's just the beginning of your own nightly adventure into rest and renewal. Each evening, as darkness settles around you like a comfortable blanket, your pineal gland begins its ancient work, releasing melatonin into your bloodstream, carrying whispered messages of night to every corner of your being. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, imagine this gentle hormone beginning to flow through your system, binding to receptors in your brain like keys, fitting perfectly into long, familiar locks. Your core body temperature is starting its natural descent, your heart rate settling into the quiet rhythm of approaching rest, the day's tensions dissolving like salt in warm water, leaving you clean and peaceful. In this moment, you're connected to something larger than yourself, part of an endless cycle that began with the first creatures to notice the difference between day and night. Every person who has ever lived has made this same journey into sleep, guided by the same biological wisdom that guides you now. Feel the weight of your body against your bed, supported by the earth beneath, held by the darkness around you. Your breathing is naturally slowing, each exhale carrying away what you no longer need, each inhale bringing in fresh calm and peace. There's nothing you need to force, nothing you need to fix, nothing you need to remember from our time together tonight. Let the knowledge settle into your body like snowflakes landing on still water, present for a moment, then gently absorbed into the deeper knowing that already lives within you. The story of melatonin, the science of circadian rhythms, the entire magnificent orchestra of sleep, all of it is playing inside you right now, a symphony you don't need to conduct or understand or control. You need only let it carry you, like a gentle river flowing toward the sea of dreams. As your eyelids grow heavy and your thoughts begin to scatter like leaves on an evening breeze, remember that you are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. And sleep is coming to meet you with the reliability of sunrise and the gentleness of moonlight. Your body knows the way to rest. It always has. It always will. Somewhere in the quiet sanctuary of your brain, melatonin is doing its patient work, orchestrating the countless biological processes that will restore and renew you through the night. You don't need to help this process or hurry it along. You need only trust in it, rest in it, and allow it to unfold in its own perfect time. The night embraces you now with infinite tenderness, welcoming you into the same restorative darkness that has sheltered countless generations before you. In this darkness, you find not emptiness, but fullness, the full expression of your biological heritage, your circadian wisdom, your deepest need for renewal and peace. Let your last conscious thoughts be gentle ones. Gratitude for this day behind you. Trust in your body's ancient wisdom and the quiet joy of surrendering to rest. Tomorrow will care for itself. Tonight, you are invited to release, to restore, to remember that sleep is not the opposite of life, but its most essential expression, a nightly return to the source of all energy, creativity, and joy. The melatonin flowing through your bloodstream now carries with it millions of years of evolutionary wisdom, the same gentle chemical that has guided countless creatures into healing sleep under countless star-lit skies. You are part of this ancient story, connected to every living thing that has ever sought rest and found it in the patient embrace of night. As consciousness begins to ebb like a tide retreating from the shore, feel yourself held by this vast community of sleepers, past, present, and future. Feel the melatonin working silently within you, whispering to every cell that the day's work is complete, that rest is not only permitted, but essential, that in sleep you will find not just unconsciousness, but the deep restorative processes that make tomorrow possible. The night's final embrace awaits you now. Sleep well, rest deeply, and may your dreams be filled with the gentle wisdom of stars and the promise of morning light still hours away. In sleep, we find our way home to ourselves. In rest, we discover the peace that lives beneath all the noise and rush of daily life. And in the gentle chemistry of melatonin, we find proof that our bodies carry within them everything we need for healing, renewal, and the sweet surrender to night's eternal gift. Sleep comes now like an old friend, patient and kind, carrying you safely into dreams. The night is yours, and you are the night's beloved child. Rest now. Rest deeply. Rest well.